One of the biggest lessons that I've learned throughout my spiritual journey is as long as we seek answers outside of ourselves, whether it's from other people, gurus, religion, while at the same time invalidating, gaslighting, and dismissing our own truth, emotions, discernment, and our intuition, it's just as harmful as being ignorant. The more you seek answers outside of yourself, the more trapped you might actually be. When we go through the same painful experiences throughout life, be it abandonment, being ostracized, betrayal, being scapegoated, and so on, it leaves a deep imprint on how we perceive closeness and intimacy. Eventually, this pain becomes too hard to ignore, which pushes us to find out why this keeps happening to us. Why does the pattern keep repeating? But it's easy to get stuck in the trap of seeking answers outside of ourselves. Looking for answers externally without seeking the answers within ourselves will only perpetuate the same cycle until we heal the very core wound that haunts us, that we are running away from. But it gets darker than that. Here's why. The reason why I made this video is to help us cultivate more self-awareness and start trusting ourselves again, trusting our inner voice and our intuition. Number one, the addiction to external validation. Early experiences of trauma teach our brain a dangerous lesson. The belief that we can't trust our own feelings and judgment. So we naturally look outwards to other people's advice, guidance, or approval in order to feel safe and know what's true. But this is not laziness or weakness. It's how our mind adapts to survive. But the more we rely on external validation, constantly seeking comfort outside of ourselves, under the guise of seeking answers and clarity, the more we reinforce the belief that we can't trust ourselves. And in doing so, we stay stuck in the same harmful situations. We are drawn to the same type of people, the same type of situations unconsciously until we learn to turn inward and face the wound that we are running away from. If you relate to this, know that it's not your fault and there's nothing shameful about it. Seeking reassurance and answers outside of ourselves is an instinctual trauma response. But this creates a paradox. The more we seek externally, the more we reinforce the belief that we can't trust our own judgment. Number two, the illusion of truth outside of ourselves. Societal framework and external advice often give us part of the truth, but the whole truth has to come within ourselves. If we blindly adopt and accept other people's framework without questioning it, we may validate someone else's lens over our own lived reality. If we over-rely on external truth without internal integration and checking in with ourselves, our internal compass, it can lead to spiritual bypassing, which means we hoard information but we don't integrate or embody the lessons we learn into our lives. 3. You are easily manipulated and controlled. Self-doubt doesn't just happen by accident. It's often trained. When you've been repeatedly invalidated, gaslighted, punished for trusting your own intuition, your own perceptions, and speaking your truth, you learn to over-question yourself. And over time, this becomes a form of self-gaslighting. So you defer to someone else's authority instead of your own discernment. And once you do that, the trauma cycle repeats. Self-doubt is incredibly useful to people and systems that want power over you. People who constantly doubt their intuition and their discernment are easy to control, manipulate, redirect, and influence. But people who trust themselves are hard to control. And this is what the matrix is. It's a network of social, relational, and spiritual power structures that thrive on people being disconnected from their own intuition and their own inner authority. The less you trust yourself, the more you look outward. And the more you look outward, the more power you give away. True freedom doesn't come from finding the right authority. It comes from learning how to trust yourself again. 4. the paradox of the truth seeker. Many spiritual seekers fall into this because they are driven by the desire for truth. But our desire to understand, to get it right, to seek answers externally, ironically traps us until we seek inwards. But this doesn't mean that we should never desire the truth or seek answers externally ever. Because of course, there's a lot of information out there giving us new insights, new perspective, food for thought. But in the end, it's up to us to use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, and our own judgment to decipher what's true for us. Desire for truth is fuel, but it has to be grounded internally. Otherwise, it's just momentum without direction. Healing often starts with being aware and noticing the wounds that we are avoiding rather than looking for answers outside of ourselves. And this isn't about abandoning community or outside advice or guidance. It's about recognizing and being aware that seeking answers outside of ourselves can sometimes distract us from what's going on inside. Healing happens when you allow yourself to feel your emotions, honor your truth even when other people disagree, and observing your patterns without shame or judgment, but with clarity. True agency isn't about rejecting all external input. It's about taking what resonates and making it your own. And when you start to trust your inner guidance again, you will realize that you can be both the questioner and the answer, holding your own authority while still learning from the world around you. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned throughout my spiritual journey is as long as we seek answers outside of ourselves, whether it's from other people, gurus, religion, while at the same time invalidating, gaslighting, and dismissing our own truth, emotions, discernment, and our intuition, it's just as harmful as being ignorant. And the harsh truth is, it's not at all different from people who are completely ignorant or people who choose to bury their heads in the sand. I used to question everything, including myself, a lot. But by overdoing the questioning myself part, it creates a perpetual state of self-doubt, which means we are unconsciously giving away our power to the matrix by not decreeing our truth and the reality we want to create. Questioning everything is good because it means that we don't take things at face value, but it has to come from a place of empowerment. And this realization kickstarted the journey of coming back to myself, remembering who I was before all the social conditioning, the indoctrination, and generational trauma that was projected onto me. I hope this video has given you some insights. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.